I think if we try to live in a way that's not in accord with our own human nature, we'll be fighting against ourselves. And so the very premise of gender theory is that I can be something other than my body. And so it's beginning with this fracture at the very root of anthropology of just that my body doesn't reveal me, it doesn't reveal my identity. But in the Catholic understanding is that, okay, your body isn't something you have like you just have a pair of jeans. Like your body is you. And so and this is easy enough to prove, if I were to say like, okay, I'm going to the store. Well, your body's probably going to be going to the store as well. I mean, the two are going to kind of stay together. But when we untether the person's identity from their body, then your identity has to attach somewhere. But what is it going to anchor onto if not the body? It'll anchor onto the personality. But the problem is that there are as many personalities as there are persons, and you will end up literally with an endless list or spectrum of genders. And so then it can become fluid. It can change. My identity is this, my identity is that. And you can see in a culture where we're look, what is my meaning? What is my purpose? Who's my community? What's my mission? Who am I? In a sense, gender theory provides all of this in one really tight package. It says, oh, your identity, you don't fit into this, you are non-binary, or you are demisexual, or you are this, or you are asexual, you're all these different labels that we have. That one resonates with my lived experience. That must be me. And especially if a person is wrestling with gender dysphoria, which is a mental health issue. It's in the DSM-5. That's not a lot of fun to say, okay, I have a mental health issue. And yeah, I also struggle with autism or depression, or I've gone through some trauma. It's not a lot of fun to identify with your brokenness or trauma or a DSM-5 label. But if my identity can be this thing, that I'm trans, then all of a sudden that's a lot easier. Now I'm finding my true self instead of just being diagnosed with some mental health issue. And so in a sense, it's providing this sense of identity. And this is why you'll find that if you challenge individuals on this thinking, a lot of times you get a very anaphylactic reaction to it, a very, very upset. And it's like, wait a minute, I didn't say anything, and you're accusing me of violence and hatred and even genocide. It's like, genocide? No, that's Mao Zedong. That's Hitler. That's Stalin. All I'm doing is asking about your preferred pronoun thing, and you're accusing me of genocide. Why this big reaction? And there was a book called Primal Scream, and in it, the author basically pointed out that the reason you get this big reaction is because this isn't just some label. This is their identity, and it's also their community, that maybe they felt rejected by their own family, by their own faith community. And all of a sudden they found this online community or some Spectrum Alliance on campus that welcomed them, that understood them, that made them feel loved and dignified and brave. This is my community. These are my homeboys. Like, this is my posse. And then it's also now our mission, because we're a victimized minority, and now I've got a battle to fight. And so these three core necessary parts of human existence, of identity, community, and mission, are all bound up in your sense of gender identity. And then if someone kind of starts poking at it and looking at the philosophical foundations of that and pulling it out, it's like, whoa, you are trying to erase me. You're trying to take away my own community that's going to leave me with nothing and take away my whole mission that's been entrusted to me. You're going to get quite a reaction. And so that's why we need to tread carefully and lovingly. And it seems like an extreme example, but it's almost like you're treating a burn victim. You don't go in, okay, let's get the bandages off. Very gingerly, okay, I want to look at these things with you, but be very careful in the way that you speak and make sure that the person knows that you're loved and you're not just coming to them to try to win some debate. I'm like, I disproved your little ideology. I remember hearing one guy, he saw the University of Essex, now this is over in England, announced on their website that there's an infinite number of genders. And he said, oh, really? And so, writes an email over to him and say, hey, I wonder if you could email over to me that infinite list of genders you've got. And they emailed him back with a list of like 24. And he's like, well, if you've got an infinite, surely you can do better than 24. Give me 500. And they email him back and they said, well, we can't list all of them because some of them are unknown or unrecognized. And he emails him back. And at this point, he's getting involved in a Freedom of Information Act where he's trying to legally get this information from them. And they said, well, some of these are unrecognized, unknown. And he types back, he said, well, if they're unknown, how can you count them? He said, might I propose the reason you can't give me your infinite list of genders is because it would take you forever to write the list. And even if you could write it down, the entire universe could not contain it, even if you use really tiny font. And that was the end of the debate. And like, did he win? Yeah, I mean, he won that debate, but like, is anybody better off? No, Because what you had there is somebody who probably is not in touch with anybody who experiences gender dysphoria, but spends a lot of time thinking about the logical inconsistencies of gender theory. But then over on this person's campus, you've got someone working with individuals who wrestle with gender dysphoria, spending a lot of time with the people, and probably not investing a lot of time wondering, are there some philosophical inconsistencies here? So you've got one person spend all the time with the people, the other person spend all the time with the ideologies, but they're not connecting. They're not discussing. Maybe this guy needs to go to lunch with some of the people who are wrestling with him so he can actually hear their stories and get to know them. And then maybe they'd care to hear some of his thoughts on anthropology. And so to me, we got to bring together charity and clarity a lot more closely.